Good afternoon and welcome to this week's webinar with Deepblocks. My name is Michael Cavone, the Chief Revenue Officer of Deepblocks. As today I'll be walking you through replacement cost analysis and how to use our software to understand replacement cost analysis for particular sites and looking at older buildings and trying to best analyze this particular metric as we go through Miami Beach in South Florida. But before I begin, I would like to kind of go through a couple segments of our website, as well as give us some more time to let some more people jump on and join us. But again, I do appreciate you taking the time to join us this Thursday as we explore Miami Beach and again review replacement cost analysis. And if you joined us once before, and or if this is your first time, as you know, Deepblocks software brings tremendous amount of capabilities and various tool sets and functionalities. Essentially, we bring zoning data, parcel level data, market data, converge it all into one centralized software, and then allow you to not only go through the site selection process relatively quickly by entering specific criteria based on your needs, but then allowing you to select that site, go through preliminary underwriting, and quickly go through feasibility analysis and 3D modeling to best understand the financial analysis of a particular project and understand the potential of a certain site. And again, you can go through this process in a matter of minutes versus taking weeks and sometimes months to, again, go through site selection and best understand that development potential. But before we begin, as I mentioned, give a few more minutes, let some more people join us today. I'm going to share my screen. We're going to take a look at the website just so you can see some of the key areas of our website. Right here is our homepage for deepblocks.com. And again, please note at any time throughout the webinar, if you have a question, please feel free to use the chat to ask me a question. Or again, you can email me at michael@deepblocks.com. If you have any questions after the webinar, again, feel free to always reach out to me if you want to go through a one-on-one demo or explore a certain capability that we have, or even if you want to ask me again a question during the webinar about a particular functionality or review something I may have gone over and you want me to go back over it. As we look at our website, here's our homepage. We have our cities section, which shows you all the cities that we currently have zoning data in. We're currently live in 43 cities with zoning data. We're in over 1,000 cities with parcel level data. Here on the map, you'll notice the red dots represent the cities with zoning, and the blue dots represent the cities with parcel level data. We're going to be adding in about another 57 cities in the coming weeks, so we'll be over 100 cities with zoning data as we continue to expand throughout the country into additional markets. And again, always feel free to reach out to us to best understand our city roadmap as we add more zoning throughout the country. In addition to the zoning data and parcel level data, we also provide market data that's represented throughout the country. There's opportunity zones, there's demographic data, so those layers are overlaid on top of this market scanner of our front end module, as I will go through shortly. And again, we're going to give a few more minutes before we jump in. Some additional areas, we have our webinar section, which shows all the previous webinars in recent weeks. We also have our tutorial section, which is 60-second clips of key functionalities of our software. It's a great resource to really understand, again, some functionalities of the software, how to navigate through the software. And again, as we continue to add and implement new features each and every week. And lastly, we have our pricing. Right now, we're at $18,000 per year, which is a good time to get in. You can be grandfathered into that price for life. As we continue to increase our pricing by the end of the year, as we add more cities, we will be up around that $30,000 mark, $32,000 mark, up to probably $36,000 by the year end. So again, this is a good time to get in. Always feel free to reach out to me and discuss pricing and licenses. So with that being said, let's kind of jump in and start our webinar for this week in Miami Beach. Now, just to recap, the main focus this week is kind of show you a different side and a different angle of using Deepblocks software. We're going to kind of study replacement cost analysis, just to kind of us understand of an existing property and see if it makes sense based on that replacement cost, if it's to renovate that building or to kind of build a similar asset and find a new location again, this is just one part of the analysis for understanding this type of scenario. So again, replacement cost analysis is a key feature in understanding a current asset in its current state. So what we're going to do first is we're going to jump into our search engine, and always keep in mind our software is kind of built into two different modules. The front end interface is our search engine and market scanner, where you can locate various sites. And then once you select that site, you go into preliminary underwriting with that second interface, which is our financial modeler, and you get that 1 year back of the envelope financial analysis, so the return on cost. So one of the first locations I'm going to be looking at today is on Collins Ave, around 43rd and Collins. And the address is 4343 Collins Ave in Miami Beach. We're kind of going to go through the site, look at the property info, and kind of analyze and jump into that Explorer interface, or as I mentioned, a financial 3D modeler interface, to really understand the replacement costs that we can calculate using Deepblocks software. So as you notice, once I enter in that address, you'll see with this red dot, this is where this particular parcel is located in Miami Beach. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can kind of get a good bird's eye view of where exactly we are in Miami Beach. Just before I actually kind of jump in and select this particular parcel, I just do want to kind of quickly overview this software and what this particular interface does. Here, this again is our market scanner. You'll see our tool set. We have our satellite layer. They can quickly turn on. This is our select parcel tool. This is our assemblage tool, which allows you to select multiple parcels at one time. We have a draw parcel tool, allowing you to draw a parcel pretty much anywhere in the country, really in the world too, that you can still utilize, even if it's outside a city that we have zoning. You still use that draw parcel tool to go through and add the map layers and turn those map layers on, as well as do a financial analysis throughout, again, the United States. And really, you can do a financial analysis pretty much anywhere in the world with that draw parcel tool. You can also use that draw parcel tool to draw smaller parcels within a larger parcel. And then here we have our market scanner. Here's where you can kind of drive the whole search process and enter in criteria based on your needs, what kind of properties you're trying to identify or sites you're trying to identify for development potential. You can search by zoning district, search by uses allowed. You can then refine that search based on these various different factors, which again will help you go from thousands and thousands of parcels to just a handful based on your needs. And lastly, we have our map layers over here, which are very, very helpful to understand the marketplace that you're evaluating and kind of scanning through. You have different layers as, like I said, opportunity zone, unit density. We have buildable area ratio, which is a great layer for understanding vertical build and what can be built on a particular lot. And again, these layers are just very helpful in understanding and quickly identifying the market and pockets of interest. Then we have our people layer, which kind of goes to our demographic data, which is pulling from census data. You see we have employment, median income, median rent, some other valuable tools. You also have demographic trends down here below, which gives you a real good micro view of a particular neighborhood and understanding trends in population, employment population, median rent, as well as median income growth. And then we have a residential, finance, hotel, office, retail, and industrial. So these are all just very helpful tasks, again, based on your search and what you're trying to identify and understand in the market. But again, today's a little bit different of a focus. Instead of going through an entire search process, we're actually going to focus in on two different projects that we pre-selected. And again, we'll kind of show you how we can use this particular interface to locate that parcel, go to that property information, and then go through the preliminary underwriting and understand the replacement cost and understand that and analyze that replacement cost based on assumptions that we can enter and setbacks that we can enter. So again, this is 4343 Collins Ave in Miami Beach. So here's our property info. Some key information we'll notice that the existing building right now is 159,000 square feet. Year built 1938. So again, a little bit of an older building. Maybe it's time for this building to either be upgraded, renovated, or based on what we understand, maybe it's better off that we develop entirely from ground up. So it's kind of, again, replacement cost now is just one factor of understanding what makes sense of what to do at a particular site. And maybe if it doesn't make sense in this particular site, you might go to another site to create a similar asset and build up. So it just depends on what you're trying to accomplish. We'll notice here, this is it is a hotel, so we have 216 units or 216 keys in this particular building. So kind of just to understand our surrounding area, we're gonna hit our street view. So this basically pulls a Google Street View of this particular site, and we'll actually get a nice view of the hotel, which is, I believe it's the Four Palms, which is right here. So this is 4343 Collins Ave, kind of a boutique hotel right there. So this is what we're kind of analyzing today in this first project. So now that I have my slate selected, I'm going to go into preliminary underwriting, and we're going to select hotel. We have our FAR pre-populated at 3, and we're going to hit continue. And right now our program is calculating and creating a 3D model, so we can kind of go through the massing analysis and feasibility analysis. And overall, our goal here is again to really try to calculate that replacement cost value. So I will go through the steps on how to use Deepblocks to generate this replacement cost number for your assessment. So again, 3D model just builds it out at 100% lot coverage, but we will adjust that accordingly. So one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to go into our assumptions, and we're going to kind of mimic the exact building that is in place. So right now, like I mentioned, it's 216 keys for this particular existing building. Roughly average room area is 400 square feet. Amenities, I believe, is around 20 to 30,000 square feet for this particular space. So you see, as I start entering these assumptions, the 3D model starts shaping up and changing its dimensions. We're also going to jump into the parking. We're going to do 0.5 spaces per key. You'll see right away that it puts a little parking right underneath in that gray area. And you'll just notice as I make, again, changes to these different assumptions and setbacks, our KPIs will automatically update. And again, just to kind of go through this particular interface, and if this is the first time you're joining us, we have our tools section, which is very similar to the previous interface with the satellite layer you can turn on. You can share a project, you can copy a project, and go through various iterations of a particular project when you're looking at feasibility analysis, as well as we have our defined building where we can enter building height and go into our setback mode, which I'll show you shortly. We have our assumption panel, which again allows you to enter in various assumptions on the income side and the cost side, as well as the gross billable. Zoom in a little bit. So that the assumption really dictates and generates these different KPIs down below. We also have our map layer panel here, which you can easily access. It's similar to the same exact layers that we were looking at in the previous interface. Another really interesting one that we can turn on is existing buildings, so you can kind of see what's in this particular area. And then we have a return analysis, kind of shows you the gross income. Again, it's the 1 year back and beyond the return on cost calculation, your total OPEX, NOI, and here's your ROC right there. Here's your assumptions, breaks down all the assumptions and details based on the property, the building, the economics, and everything, again, tied into as you define your building and adjust your assumptions on the left-hand side. Everything here automatically updates and calculates. And then lastly, when you're done kind of going through an analysis, you can export out to a PDF file, a 4-page report, which I'll show you at the very end of this particular project. It's just a very helpful report that you can share with colleagues. And lastly, here's your property info that we were looking at the front end interface that carries through here as well, so you can kind of see that property info, existing building information, your owner, some zoning information, and your setbacks for a particular project. But as I mentioned, for this particular example, we're going to kind of enter in values to mirror image the existing building and kind of understand that replacement cost. So as I mentioned, we put 216 keys in. We're at 400 square feet for the average room area, 20,000 square feet right now for amenities, parking at 0.5 per room, and then we're going to adjust the project cost. So when you're doing this replacement cost analysis, we're going to make our purchase price 0, our existing building assumption 0, and our demolition cost 0. And what that does is basically kind of begins your calculation so you can start understanding what that replacement cost is predicated on. But now we also got to adjust this building and shape it to kind of mimic what is the current state, to really get a good idea of what that final value will be for replacement cost. So we're going to go back into the setback mode and define the building. So one of the key things you can do here in the setback mode is we can uniquely identify each side of the building. So this is going to be our primary, so we just click the letter B. Now we can change it over to A, so that's our primary side. We're going to leave the two B's over here. Our rear is going to be back there, so we're going to change that to D. And then over here, we're going to make this C. So as you just saw, I quickly uniquely identified each side as A, B, you have C over here, and then D there, in the back towards the beach. And now we can either shape the building from this particular mode, or we can exit out and shape it from we see the 3D model. I'm going to show you first from this particular viewpoint that how you can adjust these setbacks. We're going to do 10 feet there for B, 10 feet for C. You'll notice the red space here starts to appear. And for the rear, we're going to do 139.4 feet, and you'll see that red adjusts right there. And you can also adjust based on floors. And so we can now jump onto the second floor and make some adjustments and increase the setbacks a little even more. And I'll show you why I'm doing that shortly when I exit the setback mode. But we can do 241.1 feet there and really bring this building back. So and then we're gonna this is actually a new feature we just added at the end of last week, beginning of this week, is our measurement tools now. So if you're in the setback mode, you can use these measurement tools to understand and measure particular shapes within a floor now. So for instance, I can hit the draw button, click this edge, and bring it to this edge, and we can see the perimeter is 338 feet. It's 117 feet from this point to this point, but again, the perimeter is 238 feet based on, this is at 118, I believe it's 236. Again, it just gives you a quick little measurement tool, which is pretty helpful. You can also draw shapes now within these various setback layers of different floors. So you can kind of, if you want to get an idea of a general floor plan, you can now draw different shapes within these floor plans, and you can save it individually for each floor. So it's a pretty cool feature we just added. It's very helpful. Again, so it kind of serves two purposes, not only from drawing shapes and understanding the layout, but also for measuring and understand the floor plate for each floor of a building. So now we're going to exit this setback mode, and we're kind of going to feel and look for the 3D model of the building that we are currently shaping up. So you'll notice how there's some purple here, which represents the hotel that's appearing at the end of the garage. So we want to kind of fix that and adjust our setbacks so that the first floor is pretty much all garage, and then anything above is going to be the hotel. So one of the first things we'll do is we're going to go to the second floor. We're going to adjust this setback by the rear. We're going to make this 337 feet, 37.9 feet. As you see, what that'll do, adjust that a little bit. Now we're going to go to the ground floor. We're going to make a little bit of an adjustment on the rear again. We're going to make this 147.8 feet. So what'll happen here, and I'll show you, I'm going to turn my building down. Pretty much all the parking's on that first floor, and we have all the hotel right above. So that just gives you a good idea of how to, again, adjust your model to kind of accommodate what you're trying to create and mimic for this particular project. We have 147.8 feet there, and as I mentioned, 237.9 feet for the setback on the second floor and up. So based on that, you kind of see now our KPIs, and you'll notice we have our FAR parking is 2.38, 216 total units, 8 floors, but we're going to make a few more adjustments to kind of get this in line. I'm going to actually go back to adjust my assumptions. We're going to make the amenities here 30,000 square feet. Get more in line. Yeah, this is actually more in tune with the current building that we're modeling and looking at. So based on this, we're going to see our project cost at $75,661,440,000. So basically, that is your replacement cost for this particular project. So again, as we updated and adjusted certain assumptions, we defined the building, and again, mimicked the existing building a bit. You kind of get an idea of what that replacement cost is. But one of the key things we did do is we went to that project cost and we wiped out the purchase price to zero, the existing building assumption to zero. And this is a main key and main premise to calculating that replacement cost for this particular project. So this again is just one sample. I'm going to go through another scenario as well, just to kind of show you how we walk through these steps to see how we do this analysis from, again, we're just trying to show a different angle of how to use Deepblocks. So not only are we using Deepblocks to go through various scenarios and iterations and understand the development potential from the ground up. Also, another way of using this as a tool for assessing replacement costs and really just giving you a good key value that's important in understanding what to do in an existing building and if it's makes sense to again renovate that building, replace that building, or eventually just wipe it out and build the ground up, or go find a different site to build a similar building. So just is a very integral part of that of this process, and we're just like to show you how you can validate certain uh, calculations with Deepblocks, in addition to some of the other key functionalities that we offer. So I'm going to go back to the search engine, and we're going to go through another project here in Miami Beach. It's going to be 4041 Collins Avenue, and we're going to kind of go through a similar setup. It's a little bit of a different property, but not too much different. We're basically going to again evaluate and look at this particular property and get an idea, understanding what exists there, and go through, adjust the assumptions, adjust the setbacks, and look and derive the replacement cost for this particular site. So here we are. Here's that parcel. I'm going to select it. Again, we can use our street view. But before I do that, let's look at the property info. We see 65,400 square feet for lot size. Existing building is 277,351 square feet, built in 1940. This one has 380 keys, so a little bit bigger in terms of rooms, number of units within this particular existing building and hotel. We're going to go to the street view and kind of see this particular building and its surroundings. I believe it's over here. Turn around, there it is. This hotel right here. That is the building. So obviously, we're going to try to do what we can to create a 3D model, go through the assumptions, and best understand and calculate that replacement cost value. So our next step is we're going to go through preliminary underwriting. Again, select hotel. We're going to leave the FAR 3. We hit continue, and just like the previous project, right now it's creating a 3D model, and we can go through this analysis, and we'll now adjust assumptions. We will define the building and calculate and figure out that replacement cost for this particular site. So again, we're here at 100% lot coverage. Just like the previous project, we're going to jump right into the assumptions. We're going to adjust these keys to 380. We're going to make that average room 400. For this one, we're going to have the amenities at, let's see, we're going to do it at, we're going to go to 30,000 right out of the gate. Let's see what else we got. So we have 30,000 square feet. Parking, same thing, we're going to do 0.5. Now you'll notice this parking is going to probably take up two floors versus the previous one only took up one floor. Again, it's due to, we have 380 keys versus 216 in the previous example. So then we're also go into the project cost. As I mentioned, this is an integral part of understanding replacement costs. We're going to make that property purchase price 0, existing building 0. And we're going to now go back and look at our property uses, make sure everything's in line, everything's looking right. The next step is to define the building and go into that setback mode again. So now we go into setback mode, and we're going to uniquely identify each side once again. So this is going to be A, that's our primary side. Our rear is going to be there, so A, we'll leave this B, and over here we'll make C. So again, we just quickly identify the sides and how we want to adjust those setbacks, and we'll start adjusting them right here. We can make 10 feet for B, 10 feet for C, and again for D, we're going to do 241 feet to start, just to kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like. Actually, I'm sorry, this is going to be 139 feet from the ground floor. All right, now we're going to go to this. We're going to go to the third floor now, because it's going to basically be 2 floors of garage. From the third floor up, we're going to adjust it so we're only the hotel will be above those 2 floors of garage. Again, we'll leave those at 10 feet, but that rear we're going to do 241 feet. And as I mentioned, we can use these measurement tools that we just added in the latest release to just get an idea of the floor plate. Just quickly click the edge, go to this edge, we're looking at 102 feet, 204 foot for perimeter. So just a quick little tool you can use to kind of understand the floor plate and the measurement of particular floors and the way it's laid out. As I mentioned, so for this part of the setback in the dark red just shows you, represents what the hotel floor plate is at the moment, because this other red just shows you the setback, and this is all of our open space. So we're going to exit the setback mode, and now we're going to kind of look at a 3D model based on the setback values we put in. So as you can see in that backside, we're still showing some hotel here down the first, or really the second floor. So we're going to adjust those setbacks a little bit more to eliminate that, so it's just only garage on the first 2 floors. So what we're going to first do is let's see, we're going to adjust the 3rd floor a little bit. Let's go down to 237.2. All right, we're going to shrink this a bit, and then we're going to go to the ground floor, and we're going to increase this a bit to kind of push out this purple into the floors above. So we're going to do 146.7. Now, one of the best ways that you do is, I'm punting in values, but I went through this project a little bit earlier, but you can use the slider and just quickly, and I'll show you, you can kind of quickly play with the slider just to see how the model looks, to see what makes sense. So we're trying to get those first 2 floors to be just gray. You kind of move that slider around a little bit. Once you get an idea of what the numbers are roughly going to be, you can then enter in your values to really make it as precise as possible. Again, this is just a general massing, but you can get pretty close. So we're now look around the building, and you'll notice for the most part we've got our 2 floors of garage below, and then the rest is hotels all the way above. So it's a pretty good model. And as we kind of, again, let's just check our assumptions one more time, just to make sure everything's in line. 380 keys, we're at 400 square feet for average room. Amenities at 30,000 square feet. And you'll notice here our project cost, which in this particular scenario, because I wiped out the purchase price, we're looking at $79,813,849 for that replacement cost. So that's just a good measurement and metric for understanding the replacement cost of this particular site. So again, those are just to kind of recap. These are 2 different projects we selected in Miami Beach to kind of go through scenario and understanding how we can derive the replacement cost value by using Deepblocks software. So it just shows you the flexibility and just the various tools that come with Deepblocks. Again, it's not just a site selection software or a software with zoning. I mean, it's a multifaceted software with so many different elements that are converged here in one interface, in one centralized platform, from where we, again, provide zoning data, parcel level data, market data, site selection process to optimize your site selections, and then the 3D modeling phase to really figure out the best potential and the most optimal development play on a particular site. And then again, we use it for validation and understanding particular marketplaces. And as I just mentioned, for today's webinar, we're using it for understanding replacement costs. So, which again, a very key calculation and understanding and looking at existing buildings, and if we want to replace a building or we want to renovate again or look for a different site altogether. As I mentioned, just quickly, I'll show you and end on this note. As I was explaining earlier, we have our PDF report. Just to show you how this works, you can enter in the report title, property address, you can enter who it's from, who it's going to, write a little summary about this particular project. You can upload your own image. So there's a rendering of this particular building. You can upload that image there. You can upload your own logo and change the color palette of the report based on your company colors. I'll show you the stock version, but if you wanted to present this particular report to say, all right, here's how I came up with the replacement cost value, you can generate this report and share it with your colleagues and kind of say, here's the assumptions, here's your stacking plan and all the different information tied to this particular property, and go through it and explain in this report very nicely in a clean fashion. Here's how I obtained my replacement cost value. So here's, again, this image can be replaced with your particular image you might want to upload. Your logo goes here. The title would go there. You can enter in your own summary for this particular project. Again, who it's prepared by, who it's prepared for. Here's our property info, zoning summary, and a stacking plan, demographic trends tied to this particular site in that market it's located. And then lastly, this is the 1 year back of the envelope return on cost. And you'll see right here, here's our total project cost, which again equates to the replacement cost for this particular scenario. Because as I mentioned, we had a purchase price, as you'll see here on this line item, we have it at 0. And our purchase price per square foot, 0. Our existing building assumption, we left as vacant. So by doing that, it allows us to create this replacement cost value. So again, I appreciate everyone coming out and joining us today to see another angle and another way of utilizing Deepblocks software. If you have any questions at any time, please feel free to reach out to me at michael@deepblocks.com. I'm always available. If you want to set up a one-on-one meeting or explore other capabilities of Deepblocks or discuss other cities that we are expanding to, feel free to contact me. Also, if you ever want to recommend other cities you wanted to review in a webinar, please feel free to, again, shoot me an email. We do have a question here. Can you quickly show how to search for vacant land? Absolutely, sure. So the question is, can you show how to search for vacant land? So we're going to go back to the search engine, and I'm just going to go to Miami for this particular example, just to quickly demonstrate how we do have that capability. Go to Miami, Florida, and again, this will work for anywhere we have existing building area data for any city that we store that information. So we are storing existing building area data, which we basically do for most of the cities that we have zoning. As my viewport loads, you'll see all the parcels appear. I'm going to zoom out a bit so we can get as many parcels as possible within my viewport. Just a quick little piece of advice. I like to use my screen around 80% out of 100%. And I like to zoom out so I can capture as many parcels as possible. But to answer the question, all you really have to do is go down to the existing building area square foot slider. We turn that on, and you're going to put in values of 0 and 0. And what that does now is it shows you all the sites that are vacant land. So you'll see here we have 457 parcels that match that are vacant land. So that's how you basically search and look for vacant land. Again, as I mentioned, that's pretty much that a little piece of criteria is available pretty much in every city that we have zoning. As long as there's existing building data, we do have that capability of showing you vacant land. So hopefully, if anyone has any other questions, again, please feel free to reach out to me at michael@deepblocks.com, or again, we can set up a call, do one-on-one demos, and review the various capabilities of Deepblocks. But again, thank you so much for your time and for participating and joining us. I look forward to seeing you again and every Thursday at 3 o'clock. Have a great afternoon.